Hi guys, I thought today I would talk about some of the standard warm-ups that we do at the Santa Cruz group. If you are part of the Santa Cruz group and you're on the Facebook page, these drills are listed under the file section. If you are not part of that group, I'm going to put descriptions in the text below the video. So at the Santa Cruz group, we actually have warm-ups A, B, C, and D. That way students don't get bored by doing the exact same warm-up over and over again, but they're still doing some of the fundamental techniques that are really important, the kind of physical motions. I'd intended to talk about all 4 different warm-up sections in this video, and then after I got done talking about warm-up section A, I realized the video was already 11 minutes long. So I think I'll probably just focus on warm-up A this week, and I'll cover the rest of them in future videos. All the warm-ups though start the same. So when people come in, we do kind of a basic rotational warm-up just to get the joints of the body moving. I don't spend a lot of time at the Santa Cruz group doing a lot of calisthenic warm-ups. I feel like that is the responsibility of the individual student, and since we have a limited amount of time to train, I want to get into technical warm-up and then the lesson fairly quickly, but there are a few things that we do every time. So the first one is just your standard rotations. We start at the head and we work our way down the body. So if your hands are on your hip, you're gonna do 10 neck circles going in either direction. I'm gonna do 5 each just to keep the video short. So after the neck, we're gonna do shoulders. So we're gonna do 10 big forward circles and then 10 big backward circles. Next, your arms are straight out like a scarecrow, and we're gonna do 10 circles going out from the elbow joint. So we're trying not to move too much from the shoulder. And then we're gonna do 10 circles coming on in. Next is what I call the Vanderlei Silva. If you're an MMA fan, you know what I'm talking about. You interlace your fingers and you do 10 circles going forward and then 10 circles going back. Next, the hands go on the hips. We're going to do 10 hip circles. Try to keep your head in place and not let your head go all over the place. We're going to do 10 in one direction and then 10 in the other direction. Next is the knees. Feet together, hands on the knees. 10 knee circles to one side, one direction. And then 10 knee circles to the next direction. And then we're going to put a toe in the dirt and we're going to do 10 ankle circles going out. And then 10 ankle circles coming in. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Ankles click in, I'm getting old. All right, so after you've done your standard rotation, some students do a few extra things like lunges and squats, and I leave that up to them. The next thing that we do every warm-up is some footwork. I've covered that in some other videos. I'll just remind you really quickly. So we stand shoulder width apart, we find our stance, and we train in a CrossFit gym, so we have quite a bit of open floor going down the lane. So we just make sure that we do gather steps all the way down the lane, and then coming back. Then we switch our feet, we do it all again, gather steps, coming back. Then we do our passing steps all the way down and then all the way back. Then we do our offline steps. All the way down and back. And then we just make sure we do some footwork combinations. So we might do the gather pass where we step out with the lead foot and then pass, and then step back with the back foot and then pass, just to get some range adjustment. And then some of the more advanced students have more complicated footwork patterns than we do, but that is a good start, I think, for most of the people that are going to be needing this video from the Santa Cruz group to remember what the warm-ups are. So after we've done the rotations and the footwork, which is the start of every warm-up, we get into the first sword warm-up. So for warm-up A, the first pattern is what we call infinity cuts. So you're just making a sideways infinity pattern with overcuts. So I'm going to come across and then loop and across and then loop, and I just get to kind of do this forever. But we're going to do this with footwork. So that little step and pivot that we did, so we always want to be incorporating sword and body. Do 20 of those, and then start doing infinity cuts with undercuts. Okay. After we've done 20 overcuts and 20 undercuts with the infinity, we're going to do the Meyer square with full cuts and then half cuts moving forward and back down the length of the gym. So just as a quick reminder, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go backwards now so I don't hit my camera. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do that all the way down and back with full cuts. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is that's the second. Now the next two are paired drills. We try to do 2 solo sword drills and then 2 paired sword drills for every warm-up section. So the first one is called the breaker drill. In pretty much all the German longsword, there are master cuts that are used to break the primary guards. Quick review: Vom Tag, which either version, Ox, Plow, Alber. Those are your 4 primary guards. And there are cuts that break those guards. Now that might mean hitting them, but that also might just mean forcing them out of that guard in a way that is safe for you. So if I'm in Vom Tag, the big cutting guard, whether I'm answering the telephone or I'm over my head, if I just step in, I'm going to get clocked on the head. And if I just throw an attack at a lower quadrant, I'm not defending myself, I'm still getting clocked on the head. So what I want to do is I'm going to throw a thwart cut, that back edge cut. Boom. Okay. This is going to hit, it's going to threaten this quadrant or this arm, depending on which version I'm in. But even if I come down, this back edge cut is going to protect me. So I might just hit them and collect their sword when they kind of spaz countercut and the fight's over, and that's great. Or they have to react to it, because if they don't do anything, they're just going to get hit in the head or the arm. So they're gonna leave that guard in some way. And this is a way that I get to threaten them in a safe way, as opposed to a suicidal way. So the thwart cut is the breaker for the Vom Tag, the kind of high cutting guard. The next guard is, if I'm in Alber, the low guard, I'm going to use a scalp cut. And I'm still going to step off the line, and I'm just using a very high, almost kind of fly fishing style, because if I just step into somebody with this low guard, I'm just going to get stuck. It's suicidal. I have to attack them, pull them out of that guard, whether I hit them or just force them to leave that guard in a way that isn't going to just get me killed. So the scalp cut is how we break that kind of Alber, that low guard. What we often do in the club, especially at the beginning level, is we have the attacker, or the kind of the aggressor, cycle through just 2 of the guards. So they might kind of be in a straight pairing position, and they'll pull up into Vom Tag, and that's the trigger for the defender to throw the correct breaker, right? The correct cut, which is the thwart. And then they'll come back, and then they'll drop into Alber, and then the other person gets to throw the scalp cut. So at the most basic level, it's a fairly static drill. The person is just here, and then they'll raise, take the hit, here, drop. And we start with just transitioning between the 2, because those are 2 different triggers, especially if you're new. That's a lot to process, because you're trying to do that as quickly as possible. In a perfect world, as the person's rising into that guard, you're already coming in to attack them. The next 2 guards are point forward guards. You have Ox, and then you have Plow. So if I'm in this guard, the breaker is the Krumpau, the crooked cut. I want to get off the line and throw, ideally at the hands. I have to get off the line because my point is threatening, so I'm making sure I'm getting off and then attacking the hands. And either you're going to hit them in the hands, or they have to leave to deal with that. So you've broken that. And then with Plow, or even with an extended long point position, the squinting cut, the descending false edge cut, either version, is going to collect their sword, and either you get to hit them, or you come in and then you get to come in with a thrust. But it's going to force, you're either going to kill them, you're going to hit them with the sword, or you're going to force them to abandon that guard to defend themselves. So those are safe ways to attack and pull somebody out of a good fundamental position without just getting killed. So when we're doing this as a paired drill, at the kind of complete level of this drill, it's a little bit more lively. Both people are moving around. There's still a dedicated defending person, guard person. So we'll be moving around. We might even circle, and then they'll pull up into any of the 4 guards, and the other person hopefully triggers with the correct breaking cut. If you're doing this by yourself with no opponent or partner, I would shadow box. First, practice the mechanical, so motion of the cut. So you're getting a nice thwart cut, getting a nice squinting cut, all those kinds of things. Sorry, scalp cut. But after that, practice throwing the different cuts. Imagine moving around, and your pretend opponent pulls up into one of the guards, and you hit them with the correct attack. Practice it on the Pel. It's what I tend to do. And if you have a partner at home, then that's even better, because you can do the drill as written. And then the last drill in warm-up A, that is a paired drill, is 3 for 3s. This is a slow motion kind of free play, but you trade off on rolls. We require at least mask to do this. Mask gloves are better. And so what they do is if I'm attacking first in a 3 for 3, I get to throw any 3 attacks I want. At about that speed, the defender is going to defend all 3. At the end of that motion, when they've done that final block, you stay there, and they now switch roles. They get to counterattack with their 3. And then from there, person counterattacks with their 3. So you're doing slow motion, unscripted play, but you are taking turns with the roles of attacker and defender. This gives you time to process, especially for newer fighters. They don't understand why they're getting hit or why their attacks aren't working. And even slow motion free play, completely unscripted slow work can be overwhelming for newer people. This gives you a chance to kind of stop and think and see what's going on, see why your attacks aren't working, see why your defenses are failing. If you miss a block, fix it and then move on. Try to be very honest. Don't speed up to catch a block. If I've messed up and I'm here and somebody's throwing over there, in a real fight, I'm not going to have the speed to do this very reliably. So that means I need to figure out why I got into that terrible position in the first place. And that's why 3 for 3s are really, really nice. They give you time to think about it, and it forces one person to not just be attacking all the time, because people often get very fixated on what they're trying to do in a fight. So this forces you to observe your opponent when you're the defender. And there are variations on this drill. We do 2 for 2s and 1 for 1s. We even do a version called Jokers, where you can do a single time counter, and that allows you to steal the turns of the attacker. But we'll get into that later. So again, if you are doing this solo, this might be a good time for some paired work. Think about a combination you might like to try. You know, thrust, wind, cut, and look at yourself in the mirror and think, if the person defended, where are they likely to hit me? And then think, okay, I'm probably going to be open here. Oh, if I defend here, where's the most likely place that they're going to need? And so you can use the mirror to look at yourself while you're throwing these attacks and figure out where, if you were the opponent, you would be trying to hit that person. And then, of course, if you have a partner, just do 3 for 3s. I think I will stop the video there. So that means next week I will talk about warm-up section B, and then warm-up section C, and then warm-up section D. But remember, the kind of rotational warm-up and the footwork happens first in every warm-up module. And then we do 2 solo sword drills and then 2 pair drills, and that way the kind of fundamental motions that are really important are getting hit every week. But we rotate a little bit so people just don't get bored every time. And if I'm working with new students, I can look at the more advanced guys and say, hey guys, please go do warm-up B, and then I'll be with you in 15 minutes kind of thing. Thanks.